Have you ever noticed it? That specific, slightly sweet, musty scent in a grandparent's spare bedroom or a vintage clothing store? Most people call it old person smell, but in Japan, it has a much more respectful name, Kareishu. We thought it was just bad laundry or old perfume, but in 2001, scientists discovered it's actually a biological timestamp written in our skin chemistry. Here's the catch. It's not about being unclean. As we pass age 40, our bodies start producing more of a specific fat called omega-7. When this oil hits the air, it oxidizes, creating a chemical compound called 2-nonenal. For decades, we've treated this scent like a social failure. In our hyper-sanitized Western culture, we are obsessed with smelling like nothing, or at least smelling like a cool ocean breeze in a plastic bottle. We've been conditioned to believe that if you smell like age, you must have forgotten to wash your clothes, or perhaps you've let your housekeeping slide. We've turned a biological reality into a moral judgment. We've whispered about it in hallways and joked about it in sitcoms. But here is the thing that will stop you in your tracks. That smell, it has absolutely nothing to do with hygiene. You could take 3 showers a day. You could scrub your skin until it's raw with the most expensive French soaps on the market. You could dry clean every stitch of clothing you own. And yet that scent, that invisible ghost, would still be there. It wouldn't budge an inch. Because this isn't a smell that sits on your skin. It is a smell that is being manufactured by your skin. It's a chemical signature that your body begins writing the moment you cross the threshold of middle age. It's a biological timestamp that tells the world exactly where you are on the map of human life. While the West spent years trying to mask this scent with lavender and shame, another culture was busy studying it with profound respect. In Japan, Kareishu translates literally to aging odor, but the cultural weight is entirely different. In a society that historically prizes the wisdom of elders, Kareishu isn't a signal of decay, it's a signal of status. It's the scent of someone who has survived, someone who has seen the seasons change 80 times and lived to tell the tale. But why does it exist at all? Why does a 20-year-old smell like acrid, salty sweat after a workout, while an 80-year-old smells like a library book even when they're perfectly still? The answer was hidden in a laboratory in the year 2001. A group of Japanese researchers decided to stop guessing and start measuring. They took the skin oils of people ranging from ages 26 to 75 and put them through a gas chromatograph. What they found changed our understanding of human biology forever. They found a single molecule, a molecule of time that simply does not exist on the skin of the young. Its name is 2-nonenal, and it is the most stubborn chemical your body will ever produce. It is waterproof, soap-resistant, and virtually indestructible by normal means. But here is the real mystery. Why would evolution, the most efficient system in the universe, spend the energy to make us smell different as we get older? Why would our skin start rusting on purpose? The truth involves ancient tribes, the grandmother hypothesis, and a chemical process that mimics the aging of a fine bottle of Chardonnay. To understand the smell, we have to understand the science of biological rust, and to do that, we have to look at what happens to your skin oils when they meet the air. In the world of chemistry, there is a process called oxidation. It's what happens when oxygen in the air meets a surface and starts to break it down. It's why an apple turns brown on the counter. It's why a shiny car eventually turns into a heap of orange rust. And as it turns out, it's exactly what is happening to your skin. To understand the old person smell, we have to look at the skin not as a barrier, but as a factory. Every second of every day, your skin is secreting oils, lipids, that keep you waterproof and protected. But as we age, the production line in this factory changes its recipe. When you are 20, your skin oils are relatively simple. They are designed to be fluid and easily shed. But once you cross into your 40s and 50s, your body begins to produce an abundance of a very specific fatty acid called omega-7. By itself, omega-7 is harmless. It doesn't have a scent. But omega-7 has a fatal flaw. It is incredibly unstable when it meets the air. As we age, our skin's natural antioxidant defenses begin to drop. We don't have enough shields to protect those fatty acids. So the oxygen in the room attacks the omega-7 on your skin. This chemical reaction triggers a breakdown, and out of that wreckage, a new compound is born, 2-non-enol. This is the molecule of time, and 2-non-enol is unlike almost any other scent the human body produces. Think about young sweat. When you go to the gym, you smell acrid, sharp, and salty. That's caused by bacteria breaking down sweat. Because that sweat is water-based, a quick shower and a bar of soap vanish instantly. But 2-non-enol? 2-non-enol is hydrophobic. That is the scientific way of saying it is terrified of water. It doesn't dissolve in the shower. It doesn't care about your loofah. Because it is oil-based and deeply bonded to the skin's surface, it behaves more like a wax than a scent. This is why you can scrub a grandfather's arm until it's red, and 5 minutes later, the scent of Kareishu is right back where it started. It's not a lack of hygiene, it's a law of chemistry. In the lab, researchers describe the scent of pure 2-non-enol as greasy, grassy, or like an old candle. If you've ever wondered why vintage shops have that old vibe, you're literally smelling the oxidized lipids left behind on the collars of coats and the surfaces of wooden chairs. It is biological rust that has been rubbed off into the world. But here's where the mystery deepens. Why would the human body go through all this trouble? Why would we evolve a factory that produces a waterproof, unwashable scent just as we reach our sunset years? In nature, nothing happens by accident. If the body is producing a signal that can be smelled from across a room, it's because that signal was meant to be heard. To find the answer, we have to stop looking at the microscope and start looking at the tribe. We have to go back to a time when a scent wasn't something you hid, it was a survival tool that kept the human race from going extinct. It's time to talk about the grandmother hypothesis and why the smell of age was once the most comforting scent in the world. In the modern world, we see aging as a decline. We see wrinkles as things to be filled, and gray hair as something to be covered. But evolution doesn't care about your vanity. Evolution only cares about one thing: survival. And for 99% of human history, an old person was a biological miracle. In a world of saber-toothed tigers, fluctuating climates, and poisonous berries, most people didn't make it to 40. If you met someone who was 70, you weren't looking at someone weak. You were looking at a survivor. You were looking at a walking library of every mistake the tribe had ever made, and how they survived them. This brings us to the grandmother hypothesis. Biologists have long wondered why humans are one of the only species on Earth, alongside orcas and pilot whales, where females live long past their reproductive years. The answer? Information. An elder who knows which root cures a fever or where the water is hidden during a 10-year drought is more valuable to the tribe's survival than another hunter. But for this system to work, the tribe needed to be able to identify the elders instantly. And in the dark of a cave or the thick of a forest, your eyes can deceive you. Your nose, however, cannot. Scent is the only sense that bypasses the logical part of your brain and goes straight to the emotional center. Recent evolutionary theory suggests that Kareishu, that specific 2-non-enol scent, was nature's way of creating a biological badge of wisdom. It was a chemical signal that told the rest of the group, this person has the data. This person has survived the unseen threats. Stay close to them. It's not just humans either. In the animal kingdom, scent is the ultimate ID card. Male elephants, for instance, can track the scent of an older matriarch for miles because her specific chemical signature tells the herd she knows the way to the water. In deer and many bird species, older individuals produce different pheromones that actually soothe the younger members of the group, reducing their stress levels. Think about how tragic it is that we've spent the last 100 years trying to scrub away the very scent that used to mean safety. When we walk into a room and smell that old person smell, our modern socialized brain says, gross. But deep down in the reptilian part of your brain, that scent is triggering a sense of stability. It's the scent of a lineage that didn't break. It's the scent of a successful life. But there is a catch. If this scent is a signal meant to be heard, what happens when we live in a world that refuses to listen? What happens to the biological rust when we try to fight it with modern chemistry? And more importantly, if you really want to get rid of it, is it even possible? It turns out the secret isn't in more soap. The secret is in a fruit that has been growing in Japanese gardens for centuries. If 2,9-enol, our molecule of time, is waterproof and soap resistant, are we simply destined to carry this scent forever? In the West, we tried to solve the problem with masking. We piled on heavy colognes and artificial musks, but chemistry tells us that doesn't work. When you mix 2,9-enol with a floral perfume, you don't get freshness. You get a strange, confusing cocktail that often smells even more clinical. But remember the Japanese researchers who discovered the molecule? They didn't just find the problem, they found the key, and that key was hidden in the persimmon. Persimmons contain a very high concentration of tannins. These tannins act like a chemical magnet. While regular soap slides right over the oily 2-nonenal, persimmon extract actually binds to the molecule, breaks it down, and lifts it off the skin. Today, this has become a massive industry in Japan. Shampoos, soaps, and even fabric softeners infused with persimmon and green tea. It's a sophisticated answer to a sophisticated chemical process. But managing the scent of age isn't just about what you put on your body, it's about what's happening inside the factory. Because 2-nonenal is a product of oxidation, of biological rust, its intensity is directly linked to your internal antioxidant levels. Studies suggest that a diet rich in vitamin C, vitamin E, and polyphenols can actually slow down the oxidation of those omega-7 fatty acids. Even hydration plays a role. When we are dehydrated, our skin oils become more concentrated, making the biological stamp even stronger. In a way, the old person smell is your body's check engine light. It's a reminder to nourish the machine that has carried you this far. We've spent the last few minutes dissecting a smell. We've looked at the gas chromatographs, the fatty acids, and the evolutionary history of the tribe. But when you strip away the chemistry, what are we really talking about? We are talking about the fact that your body is a storyteller. Every wrinkle is a chapter of a laugh or a tragedy. Every gray hair is a record of a year survived. And every molecule of 2-nonenal is a signal that you have achieved the rarest thing in the history of life on Earth: longevity. The next time you walk into that guest bedroom or hug an elderly relative, don't turn your nose away. Don't think about decay or mustiness. Take a breath. Recognize that you are smelling the chemistry of survival. You are smelling a library of life experience that is being shared with you through the air itself. Maybe we should stop trying to wash away our history. Maybe we should start realizing that the old person smell is actually the scent of a life well lived. And one day, if you're lucky enough to survive the tigers and the storms of your own life, you'll get to wear that badge of wisdom too. Because age isn't something to be hidden. It's something to be understood.